Question: How do you envision vector databases in the future? What will be their role in the AI native application stack? How will they evolve?
Yeah.
Dead
Um,
technology, they're going to go away. No.
yeah. Well, so let me pile on that one. So it's okay. That's of course that's often a thing, right? That people go like, oh, does this stuff get commoditized? And um, so first of all, for people listening, um, every new innovative database that ever has been built, that playbook has been rolled out. So, for example, when these JSON stores, like of course the famous one, of course, is MongoDB, came out, the first response was like, "Oh, you can do that in Oracle too. Oh, you can do that in Postgres too." Like literally the exact same playbook that we're seeing there. But now something important happens, right? And that is something that I'm big on. So of course, um, HN has a lot of knowledge about and you took honor about the nitty gritty, the details in there. But more high over is that what's happening is that the way that people are integrated in their stack is changing and how they're building it and how they are consuming the information before they start building. So, for example, interesting data point, the number one reason that people now give us why they are becoming a WeFit customer is because an LLM told them, right? So the LLM is not saying, yeah, it's commoditized, just throw it in Postgres or something. No, they say this is built for your use case. So it's like it's a technology itself, but it's also the how you use it, right? And how we write about it, how we publish about it. So and that is a thing that is age old, right? So it's like every time that a new database technology or new data type and then a database around that emerges, that same playbook is being played. It's like, no, it's commoditized. So whatever is going to be new in the database space, right? So probably stuff like on the edge or those kind of things, right? So um, at some point somebody will say, you can do that too with, not well, fill in the blank incumbent thing, right? So it's not only the technology itself, how you serve the use case, especially in production when the use case grow and those kind of things, but it's also how you use it in the in the technology. And to say last thing to say about that is like that's really a lesson I learned from studying and observing MongoDB. So I went back to I used like the Wayback Machine to go to the first documentation page that was indexed, which is like really old, like it's like a long time ago, maybe 20 years ago or something. And like the first prototype pages, right? It's back then it's even had a different name. And what you see is something very simple. You see like a Python dict, basically, right? So an object, and then so it says like variable equal, and then just bracket, and then it says like you can now store that somewhere else. But the feeling of like writing Python, but then basically storing that object somewhere else rather than keep it in memory, is extremely powerful, right? And you could see it just at first glance looking at it. And that is similar with people now building these AI native applications. It's just changing how that's done, and that resonates with people. That's why people like it. And I say it's people, but apparently agents now as well. So yeah, that's how I think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think so. I want to start with it because I jokingly said like, oh, it's dead, and obviously there's been so many RAG is dead posts. So first of all, I think like what we do and RAG, there's a lot of overlap, but it's not like, oh, if RAG is alive or not is does that mean vector databases are alive or not? But to me, also the fact that RAG has died so many times to me also means it's come back from the dead a lot of times because apparently it's still needed. And to me, the easiest way to visualize this is just for anyone who's ever used an LLM, and especially in a coding LLM, they know that context rot is a thing. if you have a way to keep your context as small and as relevant as possible, your results are going to be better. Like the last instruction that you gave your LLM will always outweigh the first instruction you gave it. I think Claude Code literally has this feedback thing where it says, like, you gave Claude instructions earlier, is it still adhering? I think it's phrased slightly differently. I'm paraphrasing, but they're literally addressing this problem through the harness, and there's so much stuff around precisely because of this problem. And if we're thinking back in retrieval terms, there's been so much around, like, oh, if the context window grows, we can just stuff everything in the context window. Why would you want this? Why this? It makes no sense from an accuracy perspective. It just means you're watering down the things, like the chances of actually extracting proper results. But also from an engineering perspective, it's the most inefficient thing you can possibly do. You basically, like, the longer your context window is, the more tokens you're burning. Why would you want to do this? You can maybe do this, and I know there's things like context augmented generation, where you basically use the fact that LLMs have a cache and you keep that cache hot. But then all of a sudden now you can't change it anymore. So now you have that same problem that we had in the early days before there were vector databases, where people would just build a vector index and now it can't be changed after the fact. So from that point of view, sorry for hijacking this and sneaking in a RAG is dead